Hi YouTube community, this is Father Alan. Tonight I'd like to talk about a few things. First, I was not going to make any more videos, but now I decided I would like to say that my heart was hurt first by Christians, and I mentioned that briefly in my other videos. Recently my heart's been hurt deeply by some pagans and Wiccans who thought that maybe I had an alternative motive for friendshipping them and opening a communication between us. It really hurt me, I have to say that. I guess I am thin-skinned because that kind of person. I'm a loving person and I love people, and it would just I'd hate to be treated that way. I'd hate somebody to pretend to be my friend and to say that what I believed was okay and it was cool and everything, just to turn on me and try to dump religion on me. So my apologies to those people if I reacted to you, because I was just like, wow. I mean, don't you understand? I mean, I'm not going to attack my Christian friends tonight and my brothers and sisters, but I've already talked about stuff, and I just wanted pagans and Wiccans to know that this dialogue I've begun with you as a priest is not easy for me. I mean, I've been judged, criticized by colleagues and friends in the Christian community, and like, what's your motive? How are you going to convert them? And first I says, well, I'm not trying to convert them. I want to learn from them. Well, what can you possibly learn from them? And I'm like, you don't know what you can learn from them? Then what can we teach them? Nothing. If we don't want to even know who they are as human beings, why would they want to know anything about us as human beings? And definitely talk something as personal as our personal faith, our beliefs, or our personal path, which is so personal. You know, I grew up in a non-religious, non-spiritual home. And I had a religious encounter, and for me that was the Christian faith. God the Father and God the Son and God the Holy Spirit. And Christ was a real person for me. God the Father was a real person for me. God the Holy Spirit was a real person for me. So much so that I wanted to dedicate my entire life, to be a priest, to serve God and His people. That's the Christian people. But now I realize that in my faith that it's not, as a priest, I want to serve all people of faith. And right now I feel that because of the harm that's been done to pagans and Wiccans from Christians, as a priest, I want to bring the healing touch of Christ, the church. Not the church of history that has done such horrible things, but the early church. The church that was persecuted by pagans. So when do we stop the cycle of who persecuted who burnt who crucified who? We need to learn, as human beings, to respect the other person. We live in an age of wonderful communication information. We can talk like this. Isn't YouTube wonderful for that? I love the fact that I can talk to you. I'm talking to you right now. Isn't that amazing? Now this video is mostly for witches today. I want to talk to witches in particular. And as a priest, we have something in common. We like ritual, for instance. I'd assume if you're a witch, you like ritual, or you should find another religion or another path, if you know what I mean. I mean, it's like if you didn't want to be a priest, you're going to have to deal with rituals, so you might want to get out if you don't want to be a priest. So we have something in common there. And I know my colleagues would not like me to call it magic when I bless water, for instance. But all intents and purposes, for what witches believe, that is exactly what I'm doing. I'm. It's like a spell in your language. I'm doing something to the water, right? I'm doing something to the water. In your beliefs, this was like to hear from you. What are you doing to the water when you bless the water? Is it nature blessing the water, or is it you with nature blessing the water? For me, it is God coming through me, through my hands, blessing the water. I've been set apart to do this. The bishop laid hands on me. We wouldn't want to call that magic either, but in a sense it is. He had the intention to ordain. He laid hands on me. The intention was there. We call that and then the matter was the laying on the hands and the intention. And in a sense, that's like a spell, right? Or dedicating. You're doing something there. Something's changing, right? If you ever seen a priest ordination, you know a priest is set for something for life. It's not something small. So I would assume you have something like that in witchcraft that sets you apart as a witch. Your training, I would assume, is much like a priest. You must, and there are different kinds of priests, so I guess there are different kinds of witches. So you have your different training. You know, priests don't have to know herbs, for instance, but some witches need to know about herbs and stuff. And but it's about dealing with nature and stuff like that. And from what I'm learning from you, and other things. Some of you, it's the goddess or the gods, but you're still doing the same. We're dealing with something sacred, and we're doing something magical, if you like. Um, when I christen a child, for instance, I'm it's a religious service, but it's a very a magical thing. You know, something's important happening, a rite of an initiation in a sense. And I know in the Wiccan in the pagan, you don't really have an initiation for children, but you know, I should tell you that when a child's baptized in the church, you're not really a member unless you take that on, that path as an adult. So, you know, just wanted to clear that up. So let's talk about things we have in common. What's interesting? Do, for instance, well, you know, priests have sacred robes, and I hear that some witches have special altars, and some witches use natural in nature, which is very appropriate for witchcraft because it's a very natural religion. And what I find interesting is that when I see your videos on YouTube is that you don't want to be judged for your path. Well, guess what? I don't want to be judged for my path either. So I really understand that. I really understand that. And I know that witches are not evil. That's just basic, okay? You got to understand there's a lot of misconception of what a witch is today, and we just have to change that. That's what I want to do as a priest. I want to say, hey, the guys out there who call themselves as witches today are not what you think, okay? They're not the poisoners that are warned in the Old Testament, okay? They're not the ones, you know, some kind of weird thing on my computer there. So, well, I forgot what I was talking about. But anyways, just you get the idea of this video. So I wanted to ask witches, what kind of questions I should ask from you? Because I don't really know what to ask a witch. Like, how do you do a spell, for instance? How do you baptize? How do you do initiation rites for witches, for instance? Do you have an ordination thing? I don't really like secret religions. I can understand why witches would be secretive, but today we don't need to be secretive. So, like, how do you make a new witch? I mean, so you could. When I was ordained a deacon, and then I was ordained a priest, there was rituals I went through that, and it was a public thing, and everyone knew what I was, and you know, I want to treat you the way I'm treated for most people when they see me in public. Hello, Father. Mostly respected for my office of priest. Even on, you know, you're on a bus, somebody swears and they go, "Oh, sorry, Father." I'd like them to say, you know, somebody to say something stupid and go, "Oh, sorry," because you're a divine person. You deal with the elements. You should be treated with respect. That's what I think. You should be treated with respect. I treat my daughter with respect. She teaches me a lot, you know. When she first told me it was a witch, I was like, yeah, I don't know about that. But now I've learned, I'm learning a lot from her. And one time I was like being the dad and the priest and going, yes, Chris, yes, tell me about that. And I'd get like a kind of high and mighty, talking down to her. And she goes, I would say, God understands, Chris. And Chris would turn that on me and goes, yes, Dad, the goddess understands. And I'm like, yeah, Chris, I understand what you're saying. And so I understand now that all Wiccans have to be witches, they must be witches, or they shouldn't be, from one video I've watched, but I'm learning a lot. So, anyways, this is my attempt to talk to you. I mentioned before I had a brain injury as a child, so sometimes I get off subject and looking at my time, make sure I don't run out. So I'm going to keep having these talks, and maybe you can respond in video, and I can respond back to you, and we can start talking about real important things, and not the obvious, because we already know that witches are not following Satan. We already know that witches aren't demonically possessed. We already know those things, right? I know that, okay? You don't have to convince me. I know this. I know my daughter. Okay? I like to know you more, and I'm knowing you more, and I trust what you have to say. Yeah, I'm not trying to convert you, and I hope you're not, and I know that you're not trying to convert me because you're not really a missionary religion. You found your path, and I found my path, which is another reason probably why I respect you guys so well, is because I didn't choose to be a priest. It's a calling. It kind of found me. I don't know, maybe that's what it was like from you. I can't imagine you just decided one day, unless you're in a tradition that you're brought up that way, oh, I think I want to be a witch. I mean, why would you want to be a witch? Anyways, today, what people think about witches, obviously you chose that path. You had a spiritual reason for it. You were called to it. It was the goddess or the gods or nature or whatever it was. It called you to that. And that's what I would like to talk about. As a priest, that's what I would, I didn't, I want to be a priest. Come on. Especially today. You think it's fun to be a priest? I get sworn at, I get people yelling at me. I get people today on the street will say to make jokes about little boys, or, and for instance, I'm allowed to date, but I'm in one of those churches that allows me to date, but I can't date because everyone's got a view of what priests are. So either they think I'm gay, which I'm not having a problem about gay people. I'm just saying I'm not gay. So either they think I'm gay, or they have these lift me up in a high pedestal, even when they don't even like priests. It's weird. It's like I get women smiling at me. Go, that it's kind of like great. They're nice women smiling at me, but I'll never be able to date one anymore because they're like, once they find out I'm a priest, it's like, oh, he's a priest. I can't date a priest. Or if I don't, I try dating women and I go, by the way, I'm a priest. But that doesn't work either. So I understand why the Catholic Church has celibate priests, and I'm pretty well a celibate priest because if I try to date, it's like it's just impossible. First of all, I live in a world that I can't have my private life in the paper in the morning. So I have to be choosy who I would date in the first place. And I was married once, but I'm not married now. So and that's another discussion. And anyways, I will continue, but this is going to end really quick. So I will talk on part 2.